does it. And that's the video. That's a tiny one. And all those marks look the same, so I'm gonna zoom out. Look. Right. Hey guys, welcome back to In It for the Limit Fishing. Today we're gonna do something a little bit different. I'm gonna pop on and off and walk you through my thought process. We are out here on Tellico Lake, and it's been a while since I've been on this lake. So the focus today is maybe it's your first time on a lake, on a brand new lake, or it's your first trip of the season, or a lake maybe you've not been to in a while. And how do you go about doing that? And I'm gonna walk you through my process of how I go about finding crappie when I'm not on a pattern. And so it is springtime. The water's about 57 degrees when I came out here. So it's almost hitting that, getting close to that 60-degree mark. And so crappie should be moving up. And they should be in that transition period. And so the plan coming out to the lake today was to sort of hit some of these coves at the front end of the coves and pick off some of those big schools that are starting to move back into that shallow water. Now, the first thing I did, since I put into a pretty big cove that has a creek bed with plenty of trees running into it, was to search out and see where those crappie are in this cove right now, just see if they've started moving up. And I started searching at about 20 foot of water all the way back to 8 foot. And you can see here, I'll show you the creek. And you can see I went all the way back into that pocket back there. And just looking, and I didn't really see a lot of big schools. I did see some smaller fish, which in my opinion, and this is just for what it's worth, I think those smaller fish in my experience tend to move up first, and that's what I saw. There weren't any big schools. There's just 2 or 3 here and there, but they were smaller fish. I did see some bigger fish on the scope that weren't biting. I couldn't pull up to look to see if they were crappie. They kind of look like bass, so I don't know that those were crappie. But by doing that, I've eliminated a lot of water. I've eliminated the backsides of some of these coves, and I've eliminated that shallow water. And so I'm not going to focus on that today, because you can waste a lot of time when it's your first trip out for the season or on a brand new lake, looking in places that that are just a waste of your time. And so I'm going to eliminate that whole section of all the coves that I'm going to today, and I'm just going to start out in that sort of front end, going out to the main channel, and start working my way back. I'm expecting them to be kind of in that mid-range in the cove, actually, and have some spots in mind. This isn't a brand new lake for me, but I did study the maps. Even though I know Tellico Lake, I always look at the maps before every trip and kind of have an idea of where I want to hit and look at the depths and where I expect brush and things to be. So we'll go through that plan today and see how it goes, and see if we can find some of those bigger schools of fish. All right, we're gonna get to it. Let's see if we can catch some crappie.
Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it. Fuse like a magnet, lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture.
All right, so what I'm gonna do first, because I've not been on Tellico in a while, is it's 57 degrees, so I'm gonna check some of these more shallow places. So I'll put in a cove. I'm in Lauderdale Cove, so I'll put in a cove. So I'm gonna go ahead and check this area. I've got some trees already marked here, and you can see where the creek channel comes in, the creek comes in. And I tried to mark, I looked at some waypoints on the map, and I'll try to show you what that looks like. But you can see where a tree I'd mark what it looks like on the side scan and down imaging when you come across a vertical tree, because these trees in Tellico A lot of the ones have markers, standing trees. It's a little bit of a younger lake, it's about 43-year-old lake. So some of the trees are still just standing, some of the smaller ones are. So I'll show you what that looks like, and how that looks a lot different from the live scope view, which is the advantage of having that forward view. So we're going to see if they're shallow first. That's my plan, and then we'll go out to some deeper water and see what's going on out there. All right, let's get to it. All right, that's what I thought. It's a little bitty one. Little bitty baby. All right, so what I do on Teleco along the creek beds, a lot of times you'll find brush. It's just like if you look at a satellite image and you see a creek going through the middle of the field, you'll notice all that greenery and brush growing along the sides of the creek. It's kind of the same thing. Imagine that just flooded. And so you have the creek channel, or a little creek bed, and you have all this brush lining it. And so crappie just kind of use that to move up when they go to spawn. And so what I'm doing right now is basically eliminating water. I've gone all the way back, and I'm coming back out, and not really found a whole lot of fish moved up yet. So I'm just searching right now. So this is the tree we're looking at. It's about 8 foot tall, and it's hard to see because it's got so much stuff, but it's got fish in it, but they've all been real little. We're gonna keep trying, see if we can get a bigger one out of it, and then we're gonna move. This one's got a little more in it. You can see good sized fish right there. It's got a few more fish in it. You can see them bunched up right there. You can see a good one. You can see a school of shad above it. So hopefully they're going to be feeding. All right, let's see what we can get. There we go. That was a bigger bite. There we go. Got us a keeper finally. I'm hoping they're all like that on this one. A little bit scattered a little better. Let's see what we got. Almost 12. Putting it in the bucket. There we go. Another decent one. So these little bit bigger ones, looks like he's got some parasites there. But these little bit bigger ones, they sit on the bed, but they spread out. They like having a little bit of room, I noticed. So when I see a tree like that, it's hard to tell how big they are. Yep, that's the keeper. I look for those schools in the trees that are spread out quite a bit, but not a lot. I don't know if you can see what I'm talking about here. So a lot of times when you're getting these deeper, it can be hard to tell how big these fish are, especially down there deep. What I'm looking for is space in between. And you can see how they're spaced out. Your bigger fish, usually keeper size and up, they like a little bit of space between each other. So that's what I'm looking for. Another one. Feels pretty decent. That's what I'm talking about. They spread out like that. All these, a lot of times crappie are still the same size, so if you're catching a bunch of little ones, it's not always true. You'll pull some big fish sometimes out of the smaller size schools, but a lot of times fish, and this is not just crappie, it's bass as well, they'll school up in the same size fish. It might be close. Let me check it. Yeah, 2.5. It'll do. So they're hitting it as soon as it gets to them. So this school is hungry and feeding. So I've hit several trees in a row that had some fish in it. I don't know if I can keep or not, but old male. But didn't have those fish spread out like I want to see, like this one does. And so you just keep moving till you find what you're looking for. Yep, that was a little short male, 9.5 inches. So there's another tree over here that I was waiting to get to. And the good thing about having two trees close to each other is they'll often move from one to the other. And so one tree's here, the other one's right there. And man, they are chock full on that one. So we fished them out of one, the ones that were there scattered. So now we're casting into this other one, and I'm gonna start at the very top and work my way down. There's some big ones on there, on in it. But I don't want to catch one on the bottom and then pull it through. Catch one on the bottom, pull it through that school, it'll scatter all of them. So I try to work my way from the top down. If you don't have a scope and you can't see what you're doing, yeah, it's a little bit on top. If you don't have a scope and can't see what you're doing, you can still do this as long as I mark it on my down imaging. I have my trolling motor, has the transducer for my Helix, and I'll mark it on it, and I'll sit, and I can use my 2D to watch it, or if you don't have that either, is I just keep dropping until I get bit. And that's the way I used to always do it before Livescope. Something I wanted to point out here, you can see where these fish are staged on the back side right there. You know, they're more on the back side of that. Now, when I'm looking at this scope, where it's pointed out, that means they're on the furthest side. And if you'll notice, the sun is over in this direction. And so the shadow, when that sun's coming across, they're on the back side, or the shadowy side of that tree, which it's just something neat I wanted to point out. Something you can see with a scope, but you might, if you don't have a scope, you can't, you know, you might not know that. But I'm fishing, I always prefer the fish on the shadowy side, whether that's docks, trees, or whatever. And that just shows you they are on the back side of that. And I know it's 28 foot deep and this water's kind of muddy, but as you can see, it still makes a difference. A little bit deeper that time. I ain't got a better one. There we go. Boy, you ate both of them. You see what happens here. 10 foot. 10 foot out, 20 foot down. We're sitting at 32 foot of water, but the fish are holding it between 20 and 25 foot. So I'm gonna swing it just right in the middle of that skull, see what happens. Missed one. And let it drop back down. So let it drop back in. Got bit again that time. There we go. Got hit 3 times there before I got one. They're kind of swinging at it. Yep. So just like that last place, they're spread out, kind of still skulled up, but they're a little spread. And I'll show you something that's happened on the other one. I caught him on my Bobby Garland. Don't you look and see what's in his mouth. My minnow. See that? So he hit it a couple times, got my minnow, and got the other one. That last one, I don't know if it'll make the camera or not, but a few minutes ago when I caught it was bleeding quite a bit. Luckily it was a keeper. It actually had both hooks in its mouth. Alright, this one is a keeper. We got, should make 5 in this one. Let's start putting them in this one. They're kind of hanging again on that back side of it. And funny thing is, there's been about 3 boats come up in here. Now, I don't know if they hit the same tree. There's a ton of trees in here. Nobody caught anything. And my first drop, I pulled a keeper out. So we're at 15 total, 5 keepers so far. It's not a perfect view. I'll try to get you a view of what's going on. Let me get a few on the scope here. That's a tiny one. And all those marks look the same, so we're gonna zoom out. Look. Right. Now I'm at my bridge. So here's a bridge. Pretty good size. I'm at a weird angle. But these are trees right next to that bridge. So we're gonna try to head that way. Baby. Tiny, tiny, tiny. That was good. There's a keeper. Maybe. I don't know. Let's measure him first. This one's a keeper. No, oops. That's not good. Well, that one was just under. right. Look at that double. So I felt the little nick at first. It's at the hook. Don't know if you can see it. Let me get a good picture of top of the keeper ball. It's tiny. Let's take care of this gooder one up here. That little one comes off, it's all right. I'll set him in the water. This one's good. 11 inches. Got me in here. It's only keeper number 6. And a throwback. All right. That's 20. Only 6 keepers though. That's a better one. Click over. He's at 11. Right on the drop. Too small. Sometimes these little ones are more aggressive. You gotta kind of get through them. All right, dropping it straight down. About middle of the school. There we go again. Yeah, it's a difference of a feeding school with some bigger fish in it. This one's gonna be a keeper. We'll use this other measure just to make sure. He looks like he's about 10. Yeah, 2.5. That's the kind of tree we're looking for. Let's hope they bite. These are biting off. Yeah, they is. They eating. They're eating. It's a good one. Go 12.5 maybe. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit over 12.5. 12 3/4. Good fish. Alright. Get you a good view of, look at that tree right there. Bright lights, city lights. Christmas tree. I'm watching that thing. There we go. That one don't know if it'll keep. Alright, so that one I missed. Let it drop back down, caught one. Instead of recasting. If you can see those when I put them up there. There are some keepers down there, I know. They're just weeding through the more aggressive fish. Alright, it's enough scope shots. Let me come back up here so you can hear me talking. So this area right here, I saw several boats come up here on this flat. You got a little cove over here, a little flat. There's a bridge right along this way. I went to it first, and every tree I hit had anywhere from, 7 to 15 fish, size schools. A couple of them are a little bit bigger than that, a couple of them a little bit smaller. I just kept moving, trying to look for those feeding schools. And then we got into this school, which this tree had quite a few in it, which just shows you the importance of keeping on moving. I was going to go to a different area, but I just kept, every time I zoomed out, I found fish. I didn't actually move that far from where I initially started out over here. But every time I'd zoom, I'd find more fish. Let's see if we can get some more. I believe we just need 5 more keepers for a limit. And then it's just... Here we go. I was gonna say, through all that, didn't get bit. I'll tell you a color I love for this. Shannon's gonna get mad at me because it's his favorite color on this lake, on Teleco. Now it is muddy. Normally I don't use this color in muddy water. I'll show that fish. Let me take care of this fish first, and I'll show you. Yep. Time you hear that beeping, it's me knocking it off. Yeah, that one's a keeper. Not covering giants today, not too many. It's 11. 4 more. It's 11 and 29. Alright. This color is unique. It is monkey, I think. Let me look at it here. Oops. It says Crappie Monster. You have to order them online, and this one is, doesn't have the name on it. I'm pretty sure it's like monkey something, purple monkey. But it is a favorite color on Teleco. Sorry, Shannon.
Alright, people keep asking me what's my favorite color, and there ain't one. There ain't one favorite. There's 3. It's location, location, location. That's the trick.
The last fishing expo we had, we both stocked up on them. Anyways, I usually don't use it in muddy water like this, but it is still working. And again, it's muddy up top. It might be clear on the bottom. So I had a bunch of bait fish go over, so let's see if making it look like it's just falling straight into the bush, like maybe some bait fish dying. There we go, there's a good one. A little bit deeper that time into the bush. Pulled out a keeper. Pretty good one, pretty fish. Let's see if he'll keep. Yep, just over. There we go. So what I did that time was a little different. I don't know if you noticed. This is an old technique back before I had vertical jig. I'd put myself over the brush. I could sit on my down imaging, and then I would just kind of V8 it, just slowly move my rod around the boat, you know, from the back end to the other end. I'd put the brush right along the side of the boat, and it just kind of slowly swim it through. I used to do that a lot before I had Livescope and everything. That was one technique I would use. So that is what got this fish, was just swimming it back and forth. There's a 10.5. Got one more to go. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll just drop it down. And this is a good technique if you just have down imaging. Mark the brush, and I throw buoys out actually on each side so I can visualize it. And then I just slide my boat along the side of it. And I just slide my rod to one side. There we go. Just like that. And as it swings through, it's just kind of swimming it through. It's not a keeper. I didn't click that last one either. I think, let me double check. No, it didn't. There. So I'm dropping straight down. Get it into the brush. You can see my line. I'm gonna wait till that line straightens out. Don't get a bite. Take it and swing it back the other way. And all you're doing is I got it at the depth I want it. Now another thing I would do is, especially without a scope, not knowing my depth, I'd drop it to the depth where I'd get it bit. Missed it. My finger came off. And then I would hook my line on your line saver, so you can drop it to that same depth every single time. Which is kind of hard to remember to when you get that first bite to kind of hook it. But if you have 2D imaging, you don't have Livescope, you can still watch your bait go down. And mark the depths, because I used to do that all the time. You can also count down your lure if you know the sinking rate. Should be a last keeper. Bass tournament. That find out, it looks like. He keeps. Alright, it's a limit. Alright, limit fish. Now it's just for fun. Foot. That one's a keeper. 16 keeper. Missed it. Missed it again. That time I got you. That's a good one. It's got eggs. I'll throw it back. That's good. Good sizing. Alright guys, we're going to wrap up the day. We had 43 total with about 17, 18 keepers. Not really sure. I threw some of them back that looked like big females that were full of eggs. I tried to just keep some of those males. And the plan for the day, when I was looking at the maps, looking at the weather, looking at the time of the year, the lake temperatures, I was going to hit that midsection of different coves where crappie are just now starting to pull back into those shallower waters, getting ready to spawn. Now, I did, because the water temperature is around 62, 63 degrees in some of these places, I did want to eliminate that shallow water. So when I first put in, I did look in an area where I knew there were some trees shallow, and I was able to just eliminate that whole section of the lake. So that really helped. It helped cut out some different areas. It helped keep me focused to one area instead of wanting to pull out into some of these shallow flats and places that I also had thought about. And so when you're hitting a lake that you haven't been on in a while, or a new lake, you want to have several plans in place. And not finding fish is just as important as finding fish. This morning when I didn't find much, schooled up in that shallow water, that really narrowed down the part of the lake that I was going to focus on. In fact, I really just focused on a very small area, and I'm going to show you that here really quick. All right, so the sections that I fished were just here and here, which are really close to each other. And when I zoom in here, you can see where it just kind of lines out right over here. So you can see this creek bed where it comes along. Now, Telco has a lot of standing timber, and you can follow along the creek beds, along the edges of them. That's where you'll find a lot of them. There's also a good little bridge over here in this little section, and that's where I started. And what I would do is just zoom out. Once I found a school, and I found several trees that had, 7 to 15 fish on them. Some of them were feeding, some of them weren't. Some of them were big fish, but small schools, and I did get some good keepers that way. But really, I pulled most of my fish off 1 or 2 trees. And as I would find a school, I'd zoom out, and I'd find another tree, and I'd go over to it, and I just kind of bounced around. You can see here where I just bounced from one tree to another and kept looking. Now, that little flat up there, it's a little section of the cove over here. I don't know if you can see it back there in the background. But that little area, 3 people hit that area crappie fishing and didn't catch anything and pulled out, which I just want to stress the importance of just if you're in a lake with lots of cover and you're on a pattern, stick to the pattern and just bounce from one piece of cover to the other till you find that school you're looking for. Because really, most of my fish today, those 43, most of them came off 2 or 3 trees, really. Now, I did catch 1 or 2 here and there off other trees of these smaller schools, and but most of these fish came off of really 2 really good sized schools on 2 trees, and I just kept bouncing around till I found that school that I wanted. So keep moving, keep looking. If you're stuck on a pattern, if you're really confident in it, and you can see it's starting to shape up, just stick to it till you find that that piece of cover that you're looking for. Because I knew where the fish were going to be, where they should be, and so I just kept looking until I found them. Now, I could have done this at any part of the lake. Chillicoe's full of trees like this. I just happened to do it right here. I could have done it in a couple other coves that I know as well that probably would have held that same pattern. So make you a couple plans, narrow it down to one, and then stick to it, and you should find some success this time of year. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, keep chasing that limit.